Okay, we are live. I see people are starting to come in. I think I'll just wait just a minute here before I get started. Hi, Dawn. All right. Nice to see you too, honey. Okay. All right. Well, today I'm going to be working with Potter USA. Uh, the Fossil Box, they have, if you're not familiar with Kevin Potter and Potter USA, they make hydraulic presses and tools for hydraulic presses, all kinds of fun stuff. Um, and if you don't know about that, it might be a little bit um, difficult to comprehend. However, um, their tools are a lot of fun. If you like to do any kind of metalworking, um, and you can afford to get a hydraulic press and a rolling mill and some dies, you can make lots of really fun things. Hi, Bev. Hi, Carol. Okay, so this is, I know it's backwards. This is the Fossil Box. They have a theme every month of metalsmithing tools that they produce, and it's a real good deal. For $50, you get three really nice tools, and that's less than the price of one tool, actually. So it's a good deal. And every month the theme is different. We never really know what it's going to be. So it's kind of like a mystery thing too. So um, if this kind of piques your interest, you might want to check out Kevin or Potter USA. Hey, Deb, how you doing, Toots? Okay, so in this monthly box, um, there is an impression die. This is three different styles of ammonites, fossils, okay? And you get also a rolling mill impression plate, which I just think is fantastic. I love the patterns on here. And you can kind of pick and choose the area that you want to cut out. So that's kind of a fun thing also. And then the third piece in the box was a pancake die. There's always a pancake die. There's always an impression uh, die. And there's always a rolling mill pattern plate in the boxes. You just don't know what it's going to be, what theme it's going to be every month. And this is a brachiopod. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but that's the shape. It kind of reminds me of a manta ray, but it's another kind of fossil. So there's three pieces in there, and I'm going to use all three pieces, but I'm also going to use two other pancake dies that I had purchased prior a long time ago. These are called the asymmetrical coins, and this is the extra large size, and this is the medium size. I have to order the large size. I don't have that one yet. And they also have a small, but I think that would be too small for what I would want to work with. But I think these make great uh, disc shapes for backgrounds, and I'll show you how I used those. All right. Now, this project took me several days to get it all put together, and there's no way I can possibly show you all the steps that are involved in making this. This is just kind of like a little smattering of what can be done. Let me show you this. I made a bracelet with ammonites. There's all three different ammonite shapes. I've got them all in here. And so that's going to be my bracelet. But there's lots of steps involved because I like to work with metal clay. And so I had made all the ammonites prior to constructing this bracelet. So let me, oh, and I'll show you the pendant too. I have to set the stone in here, which I will show you how to do that too. But let me turn the camera down to the table. Hey, Susan. Okay, so I made these little ammonites. I didn't cut myself on here. I've got one of those splits right next to your fingernail, which is a killer. And so I just put a Band-Aid on there to protect it a little bit. Okay, so these are some of the ammonites that I made in the silver clay. And I soldered those to these little discs. These are the asymmetrical coin shapes that I used in the bracelet. You see right there. I just kind of like that irregular shape like that. I think it's kind of fun. Okay. And then the large one you can see in comparison. This is the medium disc right here, and this is the extra large disc there. Okay. And then the brachiopods, I cut 2 pieces here, which I will make these earrings so that you can see the steps on that. And this is one that's completed in the copper, which I love copper probably equally as much as the silver. I just think that they're very, it's just a very nice color, and it's a lot more economical, really, as far as a metal to work with. All right, so we've got those. So, like I said, I did the ammonites a few days ago, and you have to let them dry, and you have to sand them and finish them. And if you're new to metal clay or curious about metal clay, I've got several different demos in my YouTube channel that you can watch the process of how it's done with the impression dies. Typically, these are meant for sheet silver that you press with a hydraulic press. You could use sheet, or you could use you could press solid, which is, you know, like a big thick hunk of metal that you can put in there. And if you just press with sheet, it's going to be hollow in the back. So it's just really a design choice, you know, what you would prefer to use. I just like working with clay. I find it I don't know, just really relaxing and tactile, and I make a lot of stuff with the clay. It is not, well, let's just say, it's not inexpensive. Probably if you were going to compare, metal clay will come out to be a little bit more as far as cost goes, but I like the ability that you can play with it a little bit differently. So there's that option too. And let's see, this is one of the copper sheets that I put through the rolling mill. And this is one in copper and one in silver. And it makes really nice impressions, short work of impression of patterns if you have a rolling mill. If you don't have a rolling mill, you can still use these impression plates by putting just a plain piece of copper sheet or silver sheet on top of these, and you can hit it with a hammer and you will get the impressions on there too. So that's another option if you don't have a rolling mill. Okay. Dawn is asking, do you use a kiln or a torch on your metal clay? I use a torch. I am a person that likes to have fast results, and sometimes I pay for that, but but I do like working with the torch. It's easy. It only takes 2 minutes per piece. It's just a good way to go. So you don't have to have a kiln to work with metal clay, at least most metal clay, most pieces. Some pieces that are very large, say larger than, I would say a $50 is about as big as you can go when you torch fire metal clay. That's even kind of pushing it. But and also depending on thickness, if they're a large piece, then they are better. It's better to use a kiln for those. All right, so where do I start? This is just I saw on the card that came with the Potter box that they had whoever designed this, they had made some of these and put them on silver sheet. They also made a ring, which I didn't really have time to do all of it, but I am going to do a pair of earrings like this. And they also did the brachiopod, and I imagine this is hammer textured to get that design in there. So there's lots of options. I was also playing with the thought, and I think I will do this live. I had made a silver ring. I'm not sure if this is fine silver or sterling. It's probably sterling, but I'm not sure. And I thought this would be kind of a fun thing to do. Also, you could solder an ammonite on that and make this as a pendant. Simple. You could also do earrings like that too if you had more, well, lots of silver rings like that. I think this one's not quite a circle. I think it's a little bit off. It's a little bit off, but that's okay. I'm just doing this for an example so that you can see. So you could make smaller earrings. Those are very easy to solder on. Just a different choice. You could do this with any of the impression dies that are small. You can always attach them as an embellishment on things. So that's another option. I am also working with paste solder. I really like the new formula of paste solder that Peppy Tools came out with. Their nano paste. It comes in 4, I don't know, 4 hardnesses, whatever. It comes in hard. Then there's medium, easy, and extra easy. And I use all of them depending on the project. So these are nice because as paste solder goes, traditional paste solder, it has, I think it's cadmium in there, which is really not good to be breathing. So this formula does not have that in there. So you can use this with a little bit more assurity that it's okay. All right. So I also run a fan and an exhaust fan when I'm working with these things, just in case, because you've only got one set of lungs and you want to take care of them. So it would be foolish not to set yourself up for safety and success. Okay, so what else? When I do these demos, I'm doing them at a table. I'm not really at my bench. So tools are kind of here and there, and it's hard for me to show you, like each of the steps. Because I do this by myself with my cell phone, I would have to travel around with my phone in one hand, and then try to work all the other stuff. So I'm just not going to do that. It's just too hard. I get flustered too easily. So let's see. What should I start with? Oh, if you don't know what pancake dies are, they're also a shape that allows you to cut a certain shape with sheet metal. I've already pressed and rolled, I should say, this sheet of copper. And then you find a place where you like the particular pattern. So usually I try to conserve and make my, position my pieces so that I'm, not being wasteful. But sometimes you want a particular pattern and it's maybe in the middle of the sheet, or, it just makes it, I, you know, it does get kind of wasteful, but I do try to use it, uh, sensibly. So anyway, you would put the piece of metal into the pancake die. Sometimes these are a little bit harder, and slide the metal in. I don't have my opener with me here. You slide the metal in so that you line it up at the pattern that you want. I have it backwards, but I'm just showing you. I'm not actually pressing it. So that you go to the hydraulic press then this way and smashes it and breaks that right out. So then you pop out this little piece. Now the pieces all have a little bit of a tab. That is just part of the deal. You get a little piece of that tab on there that that you just have to saw off. You saw off or sand it off depending on how closely you were able to cut close to that. But these I sanded and they're ready to go. So they do sometimes have a sharp edge around there, so I will sand those and then we'll solder it. Okay, so that's that part. I don't know if I'm missing anything of that, but this was a great box. This one I had absolutely no problem figuring out what I wanted to do. Of course, having the visual of the card helps. So I may do, not all the boxes, but I may do a box review every now and then and show you what I come up with. All right. So, like I had said, the first step that I did was I used my metal clay, my silver clay, and I made all the little impressions. I used a package of 25 grams. I usually buy my packages, 50-gram packages, and they come in two 25-gram packets. So you don't have to use the entire 50 grams at one time. I was able to get quite a few. Let me see. I got, how many did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I got 11 ammonites out of 25 grams of fine silver clay. So that's pretty good. I didn't want to open up another package today on the demo to show you this because I don't need to use up another 25 grams of clay at the moment. So that's why I said if you want to see the process, you can revisit one of my videos on YouTube and see how I do that with the dies. Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll start with these little copper earrings and then we'll move on to the ammonites. I think that's a plan. And then I'm going to set the stone in here. All right. So I keep finding little CZs all over the place because just a few moments before it was time to start the live, I had put my phone in the holder up above me, and I didn't put it in properly, and it fell down. And of course, it fell down on the little vials of my CZs. So I have CZs all over the place. I picked up most of them, but I am finding a stray here and there. Oh, here's another one. So, by the way, I'll talk about that a minute. These CZs are fun I always set my stones after I'm done with everything in the metal piece, so to say. This one I had soldered the ammonite on, quenched and pickled, cleaned it, and then I soldered on the tube setting in here, and then it quenched, pickled, cleaned, and then I dunked it in liver of sulfur for the patina. Then I cleaned it with steel wool, and then I put it in my tumbler with Honan Highlight tumbling media because I like the finish that it gives. And so the very last step that I do on these is to set the stone. Okay. All right. There's just a lot of material and I'm kind of flopping around, so I hope I don't lose you on that or on anything. For this project, I am using 4mm copper jump rings. I'll turn the camera down here. There's a few seconds lag between the camera that that you're seeing it from and my laptop, which I'm trying to monitor where I put everything so that you can see. So let's see here. And I don't want to burn my phone, so I have to be careful where I position it. All right, so for the soldering, like I had mentioned, well, I'm going to use, what am I going to use? I'm only going to be doing one solder on these, so I'm just going to use easy solder for this. When we move on to the silver, I have a progression of the different solder paste. So let's see. And you can use regular solder. It's just whatever you prefer. I just happen to really like paste solder. All right, so where's my easy? Okay, the easy solder is right here. And I'm just going to put a little bit on I have a cement board that I'm working on top of my table so I don't burn it. So I just put a little bit of this paste solder there and get my solder pick. And I'm using titanium shims to kind of prop up the jump ring to kind of compensate or bring that up to level. Where's my eyeballs? I need to get my magnifiers on here because I don't do anything without magnifiers anymore. All right, so I'll get my 4mm copper jump ring. Make sure that you're using solid copper and not plate. And tweezers. I'm going to grab my jump ring with the tweezers, and I want the split side down. I want to solder that closed in the process of putting on the jump ring. I don't know, can you see that? So I'm putting the jump ring there. I'm going to use a hummingbird holder to hold that piece down so it doesn't move. And get my torch here. Okay. I also keep a pair of just crappy utility pliers handy so I can pick my hot work up. All right, just make sure that I'm centered, and I am. So I'm going to just let that cool a second and then quench it. All right, and then I'm going to throw that in the pickle, which I have to reach and grab here. It's a little bit far away. I need to push that closer to me. I have my portable pickle in a little jar on a cup warmer. Just dump that in there and put that back on the cup warmer. Pardon my arms. Okay, we'll let that get cleaned up. And we'll do number 2 here. These are easy peasy. Not much to it, but they're fun. Close that jump ring as close as possible. Okay. Actually, I think 2 pieces of shims would have been a little bit better as far as the height. The shims, the titanium shim, I got from Rio Grande. It comes in I think it's a 1-inch by 6-inch strip, and there's 2 different thicknesses. One I think is 22 gauge. Don't quote me on that. It's either 22 and 24 or 20 and 22. I can't remember, but if you look it up, you'll see. I would actually recommend getting both thicknesses, because sometimes when you want to raise something, 1 shim isn't enough and 2 shims is too much. So if you get the 2 different thicknesses, sometimes that works out. It just works out. Okay. These suckers get really hot, so a good way to cool them off is you can put them on your bench block on the steel, and that will cool them off pretty quick. Okay, cool off a sec. And put that in the water, and also in the pickle. I should have got a basket to put my pieces in this little jar. I didn't think about it. That's always the way. All right, let's stick this one in. All right. I took this one out cover that pickle because I don't want the fumes floating around where I'm at. I usually have my pickle pot in another room. So now I'm going to take a brass brush and clean this piece. You can see this is just a junky old bowl and a brass brush. Now I'm using silver solder on copper. It's just, there's no good copper solder. I mean, they sell copper solder, but it's really, when you put the flame to it, it still turns silver. So I don't know what they're thinking, uh, how that is actually copper solder, but it really, I would rather use the silver solder. It flows better. It's easier to work with, but you do get solder marks, the silver marks on there. And I will take a tool. I'll use my flex shaft. Let's see over here. I'll use my flex shaft and knock a little bit of that off. And get in between here where the jump ring meets the design and get a little bit of that off. That way you don't want to be too aggressive with these. This is a coarse pumice wheel, a silicone, and you don't want to get too aggressive with it, like push on it, because then you'll get like grooves inside your metal. So you don't want to do that. So just enough to get some of this off, to clean this off. And then you can plate it, which is kind of a neat thing that you can do with your copper. You can take some hot pickle, put some in a little cup, a little glass cup or something. I use old custard cups a lot for little things. I would take the hot pickle, put some in that custard cup or glass cup, and add some steel wool, just a little fluff of steel wool in there, and then let this piece sit in there for about 10 minutes. And then the molecules, the copper molecules, whatever you want to call it, kind of grab onto this and copper plate the silver over the silver, which is really kind of a cool thing. I'm not going to do that with these because of the time element, but that's how you would do it. So then this is ready to patina. So I'm going to stick it in some liver of sulfur. And actually what I'll do first is I'm going to shape this a little bit with my fingers. According to this picture on the box, on the insert, it has sort of like a little hump in the center. And I found that once the copper is annealed, it's easy to bend. So I just use my fingers to just bend it a little bit. Your hands, your fingers are great tools. So I'm just going to bend that a little bit, and for the center, and then on the edges, I'm just going to bend it up just a little bit. If you have decent hand strength. If you don't, you might need to use a tool for that. But this doesn't leave any marks like sometimes tools do. So if you see, that gives it a little bit of dimension. Okay. This side is a little bit more than the other. Hi, Wendy. Okay, so that's one piece. And I'm going to get the other piece out of the pickle, and we'll do the same thing to that. These, like I said, these are easy peasy. This only requires the one solder for the loop. I'll clean this. Now, if I was going to sell these earrings, you bet I would take the time to copper plate them, because I don't want anything, any defects, any silver showing on the copper. It's just not supposed to be there, and I would take the time to correct that. But this is just for the sake of the demo, so we can get through it without taking forever. This one is a lot cleaner as far as the silver. I don't even need to touch it with the flex shaft. So I'm just going to bend this one. With my fingers. Just shape it a little bit. Or you don't have to shape it at all. It's just a matter of what you like. Okay. So let me compare that with this other. Okay. So now I'm going to get a little bit of liver of sulfur. Oh, my face is right in there. Get to see my chinek. All right, just a couple of drops of this XL gel. I really like it. Drop those in the pickle. Not the pickle, in the liver of sulfur. And I've got some 4O steel wool. Move this out of the way, because I don't want steel wool fibers all over the place. And my apron keeps falling. I think it's too large. So I have to fix that one of these days. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Okay. I like it a lot, but it does not fit quite right. Can't fish that other one out. There we go. Okay. All right. So I have some 4O steel wool, very fine. And I'm just going to clean off that excess liver of sulfur. And you just take off enough, that you like. I mean, you could take it all off if you are too aggressive with it, but just check it as you're working with it. And then the final step would be that I would tumble these in steel shot, and then they get a real nice sheen on them. But I mean, look how simple those were. Those were like easy peasy. Then what I did with the pair that I already made prior, I just added a few jump rings on the top, above, whatever, just to make them dangle a little bit more. And then put some niobium wires on there. Okay. So, like I said, these would go in the tumbler next. And then attach the jump rings and ear wires. So that's one piece of the Potter box. And that's kind of cool. Using the two parts, the rolling mill plate and the pancake die. Okay, so now on to the ammonites. Okay, so for this, any questions up till now? Okay. You can always ask, even if I'm not on the live demo. If you have questions later, you can always post it in the group. All right, so for my bracelet units, like this one I need to reset because my jump ring slid and I didn't catch it. I didn't notice it till after it was done. So after I had put it in the pickle and was cleaning it, and I said, oh, that's not where it's supposed to be. So I need to heat that up and move that over. All right, so here's one of my discs. I'm going to solder the, I got to take this off. This is too hard to work with. Okay. All right, then I need 2 sterling jump rings. Wendy says, do you use the same tumbler for both patina and shiny silver pieces? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yeah, you don't have to have 2 different dedicated tumblers for this. All right. So for this one, it's going to have several soldering applications. So I'm going to start off with hard solder first. Where's my, oh, I need another shim here. And I've got hard solder already out. So I find that little split in the jump ring because I want to make sure that that gets soldered closed. A little bit of, kind of figure out where you want, how you want to position the jump rings. But being that these are uneven, whatever, you can kind of, as long as they're across from each other, it doesn't really matter. And you want to make sure you get enough covering. I hope my head's not in the way when I'm looking down. I eyeball everything, and that's kind of a bad thing in some ways, and sometimes it works out just great, sometimes not so much. So like I said, this is the hard solder. It's probably more solder than I need, but I'd rather be sure I have enough. I want to put the hummingbird on there to keep the piece from moving. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I know it's not as close up as I would like it to be, but I can only do so much with the phone. All right. Okay. So that's the first place I'm going to solder. Okay. Move this off onto my bench block to cool off. There's my link. So it's going to go in the pickle after I cool it off a sec. Well, I'll quench it first and then put it in the pickle. This just is not a good situation here. That's better. Okay, so that's going to go in there. I'll do the second one too now. Now remember, this area is hot, so be careful. 2 more jump rings. That one's already closed. Okay. So need some more hard solder. I just kind of dip it, the split of the jump ring, into that solder on my board here. Oh, I didn't line up my disc. I need to do that first. I think I want a little bit more on this one. Well, you know, I was only going to put 1 loop on these for earrings, but maybe I'll put a little dangle on the bottom of them. Can always do that. Okay. It goes by pretty fast. That solders real quick. Okay. That's number 2. Okay. Now that's going to go in the pickle pot. Oh, I almost put my silver tweezers in there. All right. Put my glove back on. And I am cleaning this silver piece with my brass brush. I still have a little bit of residue on here, which I am going to blast with my flex shaft. I'm just trying to make a little quicker, to go by this a little quicker. I may have just like overfired this one. And maybe that's fire stain, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to solder on one of the ammonites. So I'm going to get the easy soldering paste now, wherever I put it. Put a fair amount on there. Spread this out. It's not always easy to solder these things on flush or flat. If there's texture on them, or your disc isn't exactly quite flat, sometimes it doesn't get a perfect seal around there, which can be problematic. But we're going to hope for the best here with these. I had done a couple of these ammonites. I've done several of them already, as you could see from what I have finished. And I had one of them pop on me. I was adding the tube setting, and this loud pop, I was unnerved there for a second. It was like, what the heck happened? And I guess there was some water trapped underneath the ammonite, and that was the result, was this loud pop. It scared the bejesus out of me, but that told me that it wasn't a good seal, and moisture got in there. So I'm going to hope like heck that that doesn't happen while we're doing this demo, because that would be embarrassing. But also, though, you could be aware that that could happen, and that's what it is. But it shouldn't happen, because you shouldn't trap moisture in there. All right. I'm going to switch torches with a little bit finer flame for this one. And the paste solder does smoke. That's normal. So don't, if you've never used it before and you see the smoke, don't be alarmed. It goes away in just a couple seconds. Just want to make sure that this is all the way on there. Okay. All right. So this is easy too. Soldering a metal clay embellishment on a piece of sheet solder. Cool off a bit. And then quench. And then I'll put that in the pickle. I'm going to take the other disc out. And then we'll solder that piece on. You know, I have baskets. I don't know why I just didn't get one. All right, put that in the pickle. Dish this out now. So I dropped it in the water bucket. I'm really trying not to get this finger aggravated or get my Band-Aid wet. That's probably more the thing. I don't know if you've ever had those splits on your fingers, right by where the fingernail is, meets your skin. It can get very, very tender. Okay, so here's the second one. Get the next ammonite on. I've got to get the easy solder. And cover that whole thing up. Ah, of course it had to fall. Solder down. All right. Well, how did I position? I want to see how I positioned the other guy. I guess it doesn't matter. You can turn it either way. All right. Okay. We'll have some solder cleanup to do. All right, I'll put this in the pickle. Those are going to need to stay in there for a little bit. So in the meantime, we can set, I'll show you how to set the CZ. Well, actually, maybe I'll solder this guy on here. That might be kind of nice. I've got this ring that I made. Well, it's not a ring, but I mean this circular piece that I made quite a while back, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, so it just kind of sat there. So maybe I'll just solder this larger ammonite to it. You could definitely do that. All right, for that, I'll use the Easy Solder Paste. I don't have to have quite as much solder on this one because it's not covering, I'm not soldering it solidly to, there's only a thin piece that it's getting soldered to. All right, let me hold my ring down with a couple of hummingbirds, just so it doesn't move while I'm soldering. I think maybe that's good. Just leave it positioned like that. There. If you haven't used these hummingbirds, you need to get some if you do this kind of work. These are wonderful to hold your work in place so they don't move around while you're soldering. Because if you've ever had that happen, you know it's very frustrating. Okay. And let's see here. I'll use this torch. So I put Easy Paste solder down. Now I have to warm all this up. There's a lot of heat sinks going on, so cover that all up. Whole area here. This will be a little bit harder for me to tell when it solder flows, but I can't really tell. I'm going to check it and see. I do not want to melt my silver. Board with me. Okay. Cool a bit. I have some cleanup to do on that. Pick all that solder board off. Oh, I see we're having trouble with the broadcast, aren't it? All right. Oh yeah, it's on there. I have to scrape off this solder board. It happens sometimes. The flux, there was flux on this board previously, so that makes stuff stick. All right, that should clean up nicely. All right. Let me check on this. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm going to clean this disc up. So that's the soldered ammonite on there. It's got some solder cleanup to do around here, which I will take care of that. And let's see. Okay. All right. I will go ahead and I will solder. I mean, not solder. I will set the CZs. Is anybody still with me? I know I had some interruption in service. So I hope you guys are still here. All right. So I'm going to. Oh, I wanted to change this one. So I have on this, I'm going to be using a 3mm tube setting, which I've already soldered on there. If you don't have tube settings and you want to do this sort of thing, Halstead Bead is a great place to get quality tube settings. So just keep that in mind if you need them. And they also carry CZs. They don't have an extensive color assortment, but they do have nice ones. So this is a 3mm tube setting, and I have my 3mm CZ that I want to put in here. I also have a rawhide mallet and the tube setting tool. I am using, I've got one of these little tube setting sets. So you find the appropriate tool that will set this in place. And I'm going to get my CZ. They're so small. You want to make sure that it's in there nice and flat, flush, so that it gets set properly. Push that down. Okay, that's in there, right? So now I'm going to get my tube setter tool. And oh, this is a bigger one. I'm sorry. I had it set up for the smaller stone that I was using. So now I have to find the right size for this one. You want to make sure that the tube setter goes over the entire tube setting so that it covers it and you don't get marks from the edges of this tool. I'm going to hang this piece over the edge because of the jump ring there. So I don't want that to interfere with me setting it. So I'm going to just put this tube setter over the top, and then I'm going to take I have a weighted leather mallet, and I'm going to rotate, kind of tap and rotate this tool as I go around. And that helps close that tube setting in. Then I'm going to place the tube setting tool over and just kind of rotate the tool over the tube setting to smooth it out and encourage that tube setting to cover the edges of the stone. Grip it in there so it doesn't come out. And then you can take a look. You can't see it, I don't think, but you can see where this tool kind of burnishes this edge of the tube setting. And that's in there. That's set there. It's so simple. You just have to have the right tools, to get the job done properly. All right. Well, I think I didn't have it done. My stone came out. Well, that's an embarrassment, but that does happen. You sure want to make sure that if it's going to come out, it's going to come out when you have it and not when your customer has it, because that would be bad. All right, let's do this again. It was just too easy to be true. And then after this, I'm going to stop the demo because it looks on my end like there's some problems here. So I may be recording and I may not be. That would make me mad at this point. Okay. There you have it. So I'm going to set those other ones off camera, and I'll have a picture of everything in the group. I am live. Thank you, Deb. I didn't know. I didn't know because I didn't see any action on there, so I wasn't sure. But anyway, I think this is a fun box, monthly box, and I think that there's a lot that you can do with it. Probably more than what I've come up with, but uh, there are certainly lots of pieces that you can get out of there. So I hope you learned a little bit of something, and I will. I've got a handout as usual, and I will post that in the group in just a little bit. And if you have a box and you make some stuff, please post it in the group. If not, you can always check out Potter USA and see what kind of fun stuff that they have. There are certainly some things that you can use without some of the big tools, but it is limiting if you don't have those. So, but I was excited about this set, so I just kind of wanted to play with it and show you. All right, so I'll post the handout. I don't know what I'm doing in 2 weeks. My friend Rhonda's going to come by sometime in the next few demos, and she's got a neat thing that she's going to present. And we shall see you in the group. So thanks for watching. I always enjoy when you guys are around and cheering me on. So you take care. See you later. Bye.